Greetings, Bashar.
And a you good day.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
And you as well.
I wanted to ask you a question about how I can know that I'm an eternal being. There are so many things that I have knowledge of, and they feel so concrete. But the idea of myself as an eternal being still feels like a question to me.
Do you exist?
I do.
Do you understand that you cannot become non-existent?
That, I guess, is what I don't believe yet.
All right. Well, by definition, non-existence doesn't exist.
True.
So how can you become something that doesn't exist?
But it is possible for something to change and not be what it was before, so I guess...
That doesn't mean you don't exist.
But does my consciousness...
Yes, you are what you are. You are a perspective of all that is. The perspective never changes because that's your core reflection. That's your core being. The identity of yourself is an aspect reflection of all that is. When you go through this process that many of you have talked about, of expanding your consciousness, becoming more aligned, becoming one with all that is, many of you over the ages have assumed that that process of blending and harmonizing with all that is means that you lose your identity. No, just the opposite. Your identity becomes stronger. You see all the different levels from your perspective. And when you fully harmonize with all that is, you actually recognize that you are all that is, and there is nothing else. It's just your identity that's left. And from that level, you recognize that everything that exists is an aspect of you. The you is always there. So the harmonization with all that is doesn't remove the identity, it expands the identity. You become the only thing that remains.
And that identity even exists after death.
Yes, of course, because death is way down the line from what I'm talking about here. Talking about the total blending of the idea of your being with all that is. That's many, many, many levels above the idea of physical death.
And I've had experiences of that sort of blending with all that is.
Yes.
Certainly during my living life,
And
I guess.
here you still are.
And here I still am,
As
absolutely.
you.
And so I guess wouldn't it be nice to get a guarantee that after one's death,
You have the guarantee. That's what we are saying. The very fact that you have an identity at all means the identity is always present. Even though it may change in certain ways, the core idea of an identity doesn't. Because that's the first law. You exist. You exist. Not just you exist, you exist. That's where the emphasis needs to be in the statement of the first law. Therefore, you will always be you, no matter in what form you exist, no matter on what level you exist, you exist. And you are necessary to exist as you. The you part can never be dissolved, because if it did, then all that is wouldn't have your perspective, and all that is wouldn't be all that is. So in order for all that is to always be all that is, you have to remain a component as you in some way, shape, or form, knowing yourself as you, no matter how you may change. Does that make more sense?
it does. So then why do we play the death game? This game where we feel such loss and we feel such separation from those who have passed
Because
on.
of your definition of that process. And also because it serves you to forget certain things so that you can actually have the experience of discovering things. But you don't necessarily have to take it so far that you actually feel a loss. It's just like really changing clothes or walking from one room to another in the same house.
It's funny, while I can cogitate that and understand that intellectually, sometimes emotionally I don't feel it.
That's all right. If you really want absolute proof, you could commit suicide and still see that you're here. Not that I'm suggesting it.
I wasn't planning on it.
No, all right. But I guarantee you, everything already exists, and that can't change. It's one of the basic laws.
So why does this existence feel so real to me? If I assume that...
Because it needs to in order for you to participate in it. That's what belief systems do. Belief systems carry within them a mechanism that makes that belief seem to be exclusive of other beliefs. If it didn't, you'd be getting input from so much more of yourself, you wouldn't be able to focus, you wouldn't be able to function in a physical life.
And I assume I've had physical lives before this one.
Well, yes and no. Because you see, that's the point. That's why we say everything exists now. You have never had any other life but this. The idea is that it's not reincarnation, it's multiple simultaneous incarnations. And every single one of those incarnations is a different person. They're not you, you're not them. The idea is that you can create the experience of the linear life to life, life to life, life after life kind of experience, but that's just a perspective. It's an illusionary continuity perspective. It's not actually mechanically what's happening. Every single being in every single life is always that being. Always that being.
So all those different lives that are informing my soul.
You're cross-connecting to them energetically and downloading information from those simultaneous existences, whatever information you believe helps you in this life, just as all those other people in all those other lives are doing with you and other people. You cross-connect energetically and informationally to all those lives, and when you make a cross-connection that way, because you live in a linear space-time experience, you perceive those cross connections that are going on right now as memories. That's why you think they're actually happening in the past. That's why you think you've been that person, because it feels like a memory because of your space-time point of view. But it's not really a memory in the sense that it's in the past. It is actually a cross connection happening right now because all those lives exist right now. All those people exist right now as themselves, just as you do. And that will also never change. They will always be them, you will always be you. Because there's no room for you to become anyone else. Everything that exists fills existence. All the people that exist throughout all time, all space, fill existence. You can't take their place. They can't take yours. Existence is full.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
It does. One last thing. I know
Yes.
you have said in that we sort of remake ourselves moment to moment to moment.
Yes.
And that we can change our reality around us.
Well, you do. Not you can. You do. That's
We do.
automatic.
Right.
You're shifting through billions of parallel reality experiences every second. That's how you create the illusion of time.
Right. So, and everyone's doing that
Right now.
independently.
Yes.
So then how is it that you travel with someone else?
By agreement.
So that
You're creating similar experiences so that you're on a similar wavelength so that you can experience similar things simultaneously, including creating your version of them in your reality as they create their version of you in their reality, and you're interacting with your version of them and they're interacting with their version of you.
Right. Because that's really what it sort of boils down to for me is
Yes.
that I have a partner that I'm traveling through life with.
Yes.
And I would really like lots of lives with them. You know, it's there's
You
sort
have
of
whatever serves you. You can make any number of cross connections, but again, remember, all those connections are being made from the present. And you will
Gotcha.
connect to whatever serves you. Nothing will be left out,
so once this life ends,
so to speak,
and I wake up as my soul,
as your spirit self.
as
yes.
my spirit self,
Yes.
then do I go back to sleep and experience myself in another manifestation somewhere? One
That's
of
your
those-
choice. Like I said, you can create the experience of reincarnation, but that's not what is actually mechanically happening with the structure of existence. That's just a point of view of the structure. It's an experience within the structure, but it's not a change of the structure.
Because they're all happening instantaneously.
Yes.
Got it.
So you're just shifting your point of view to have a different kind of an experience, but that doesn't mean the you are now goes away. This you will always be this you, and another part of your oversoul will have an experience with this you. Even if the you think you are plays the game of pretending to have another point of view as another person. That doesn't negate the person you are now. That person always exists. And the spirit version of that person always exists simultaneously. This is one of the reasons why when people die And people that are still living wonder why they don't show up more often. The idea is that when you die, you realize that another spirit version of the person that still has a life is already there. And you're interacting with them anyway.
So you're interacting with their spirit version of them, not their physical version of them.
Yes. And therefore, since they're already there, why do you need to go back to the physical version unless there's a real reason to? Because again, that would be like leaving your friend to go visit a portion of your friend.
Wow. Okay.
These are all euphemisms as they are described in your language, but I think you get the point from the illustration.
I do.
All right.
And the reason we don't have a clearer understanding of that soul part of ourselves is because we choose to narrow ourselves in order to explore a question in this sort of space-time reality.
Yes, although now, because this is the transformational age, these kinds of things can come to the forefront of your consciousness, and you don't have to experience quite as much limitation as you used to. That's why we're having this conversation now, because it's possible for you to understand how to make those kinds of connections and then have the kind of limitations that are really only just those that are necessary for the themes you're exploring, instead of a whole bunch more limitations that are not necessarily relevant for you to be who you truly are.
Gotcha. We don't need as many limitations as
Yes.
we've had in the past.
Yes. Make
All right.
sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that help you?
Yes, very much so.
Why, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
How are you? It's an honor to be in your presence.
Perfect. Speak up and be bold so that all may
Yes,
hear
sir.
what you have to share.
The question I had
Use
was
your
about
piece of technology that you have named Michael.
kind of tall. It has this limit here. But the question I had was about the unmanifested self. What is the process of self-awareness for the unmanifested particle? Like, how does that come into play?
I have just described it, but I will describe it again. Everything exists already. Everything is already, in a sense, manifest, although you may not perceive that it is manifest. The idea, therefore, of manifestation, of what you are calling the unmanifested part, is the realization that it already exists, it's already here, and simply being the state of being that is representative of the frequency of that portion of the manifested you, and then you will perceive it, you'll experience it, because it's already here and you now match the vibration. Does that make sense?
A little bit. So the part that was unmanifest, just pure awareness of only itself, was that spawned from the void? Was there
Oh, you are talking about the original manifestation.
yes, the self, the pure self.
You are talking about the all that is.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, first there is the one. Now, the one has absolutely no experience of itself.
Right.
Because there is no other,
Right.
in a sense, to compare itself to. So without the other, you cannot know the self. But since the one is, in a sense, everything, that included one part of it that did have the reflective potentiality. And that reflective potentiality is the all that is, that actually does recognize itself as the one and everything. So there is the one with no self-recognition and the all that is with ultimate self-recognition.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But that happened in no time.
Okay. So all things are an extension of that unmanifested self. Now, my question is, can a being be evolved enough to actually leave the parameters of its God and maybe travel in the void and maybe see another God or something like that? Can something actually leave the realm of consciousness?
Yes, but it depends upon what you're defining as God. Because any description you can have is simply all that is on a different level. Call it God, call it creator, call it whatever you wish.
Okay.
It's still a part of all that is, because there's nothing outside of all that is.
Okay.
But if you're creating divisions, which you do within all that is, and one particular division has, let's just say at its peak or pinnacle, a particular representation of God or all that is, then since it is just a representation within a limited dimension, then certainly you can expand beyond that particular representation of God.
Okay.
But you can never expand beyond all that is.
Okay. So my next question, the all that is aspect of God. Now, could there be some distance in the void where there's a...
It's not an all that is aspect of God. All that is it.
But my question is, could there be other all that is where they don't interact with each other? You see, there's all that is in our particular
No.
world. No.
You can have a level, you can have a division of all that is that within a relative dimension may seem to be all that is, but just listen to the phrase. If it's still a division, it's not all that is. And if you're going to say, well, there are 13 all that is, then all 13 together would actually be the all that is, wouldn't they?
But a chain of 13, could there be another chain of 13 or another chain of 13?
Yes, there can be as many as you wish. What I'm attempting to get you to focus on, though, is the literalness of the phrase, all that is. So you can break all that is down into as many divisions as you want. Actually, it has infinite divisions. But the point is you're still breaking it into divisions, which means that a division, no matter how grand and big in scope it may seem, is not actually still the all that is, which is all divisions.
But if we go back to the unmanifested aspect of it, the pure self of it, the part that hasn't been brought into manifestation.
No. You're mistaken. There is no unmanifested part of all that is, because it is all that is. You have to go to a lower level to have an experience of unmanifestation.
Okay, so there's life in this unmanifested aspect of it?
Yes, of course.
So could there be other unmanifested life somewhere separate from this particular unmanifested life?
There can be the experience of different and seemingly separate unmanifested lives, but again, it only seems so. Because again, remember, you're using your manifestation powers to create an experience of lack of manifestation.
Yes, I understand that.
There is really no such thing as an actual lack of manifestation. There is only the experience of the appearance of lack of manifestation. Because nothing in all that is actually unmanifested. And therefore, by having the experience of lack of manifestation, that's simply from the perspective of all that is, another manifestation within all that is. The manifestation of the lack of manifestation.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, it does. My final question, sir, is...
Oh, sir, so formal.
Yes, it's just honor. It's just honor.
All right, thank you.
Okay. The things like, I heard you speak of like astral body, out-of-body experiences. It's attuning you so you become like a conduit for these higher frequency sources and whatnot.
Yes.
So when there's like things like dimethyltryptamine and things like
Yes.
that, it was meant to come into people's lives then so they can actually access these higher frequencies and speak from and act from these higher frequencies.
So they can be taught, yes. The idea is that once you're taught the frequency, with very little practice, you don't necessarily need the teacher anymore. You can simply achieve that state on your own.
And that's just by remembering the state when you
Yes.
were there. Okay.
And when you remember and recognize that remembering what something felt like is the same thing as actually feeling it now,
Yes.
and stop making the separation between the two,
Yes.
then you'll be in whatever state you prefer to be in.
All right.
Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bashar.